Hello, welcome to the Wasting Time podcast with our first show of 2024. I'm Chris. How's it going, Nick?
It's going good, mate. Good to be back for the first show of the year with with only two shows attended last year. So
this is a good start.
Starting as we mean to go on.
Yeah. Well, you were here for the last one of 23 and the first one of 24, so that's that.
I'll take it.
That's good. Yeah,
we'll take that positivity moving forward.
Yeah.
What's been happening then? So kicking off the new year, new episode. Like, how's the start of your year looking?
Start of my year has been good. Like, my day job's been keeping me busy. That's always going to be busy this at the top of the year. So, producer I work with, hopefully some exciting things for him this year. So been doing stuff for him, and a band I'm talking to who I might work with. So that's all keeping me busy. And then there's things that obviously we've been talking about doing for this show, which is kind of a work in progress as well. So yeah, all good. What about you?
Yeah, I guess much of the same from a work perspective. Just trying to crawl through January, not doing dry January like yourself, but yeah, just trying to kind of get the end of the month and then crack on from there. Got a few gigs lined up actually for the start of February, so hoping to
what are you catching?
So got the Menzingers on the 8th of Feb.
Nice.
So they're in Newcastle, and then I'd hoped. The thing is, Menzingers on the 8th, and this other gig's on the 4th of Feb. So, I mean, I'll need to swing it by the wife and make sure we can make that work.
Yeah, what's the other gig?
Arm's Length. They're playing it. Like a new small venue, beauty school, supporting them as well. So my brother's going along. Cool. So I thought I might tag along for that one. Actually, a new venue just outside of Newcastle called The Grove, which I've never been to, which seem to be doing quite a lot of kind of alternative pop punk kind of gigs. I don't know. There's obviously a promoter involved there that's putting a few things on. So keen to check out this new venue as well, which is outside the town as well. So
that's a good gig for beauty school. Did excuse me. Have you listened to Arm's Length one much?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Not a huge amount, but my brother said he saw them. Do you know they've been on like a big tour support before?
Oh yeah.
And I can't remember who it was he saw them with. He did tell me, but he saw them support and said that Arm's Length like stood out, like as the stronger band on this tour. Do you know if they've toured with before?
Off the top of my head, no idea. No. I think the first time I ever heard of them was your brother messaged me telling me to check them out. Yeah, he's been flying their flag for a while actually.
Yeah, that's for sure. So yeah, hoping to get along to that. I've got that movie life gig as well, kind of March, I think, start of March.
Yeah,
could be, which I'm looking forward to. So yeah, starting the year as I mean to go on from a gig perspective. Anyway, what about you? Got much lined up?
No, just Menzingers, going to like a local showcase thing next Thursday as well, but that's more small scale. That's just with the producer I mentioned before, him and I are going down to that. But yeah, I think just Menzingers at the minute.
Cool. I tell you what I do fancy. I saw the other day that Green Day were doing their big world tour this year, Savior tour, but they've announced that they're doing Ducky and I think it's American Idiot in full.
Is that the tour with Rancid and
well, this is it.
Others?
I mean, I definitely would have been on board if it was the Rancid in the Smashing Pumpkins and Interrupters on the bill.
That was it. Yeah.
Looks like that's American dates, and randomly the UK dates. There's 4 UK dates, and it's Nothing But Thieves, who are like they're like a really synth poppy band.
They are. I mean, they're okay, but yeah, that seems like a waste. I mean, I quite like a few of their songs, but for a big, high-profile like sort of punk rock support, that's a waste.
Especially when it's when the US dates are like mega bands, and then there's a female band, Made of Ace. Have you heard of them?
I
This is the
I'm sure
thing.
if I
It's
have.
really weird. You got America. You got Green Day, who are very kind of, I don't know, like pop punk. You've got Nothing But Thieves, who are like this synth pop band, and then you've got this Made of Ace band, who are like kind of punk, like old school kind of oi kind of punk kind of style. So it's
Right.
just a really weird,
It's a
weird
strange
lineup.
mix. Yeah.
So I just, I just like the idea of them playing Dookie, kind of
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like seeing them do that live. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Did you catch Billy Joe Armstrong on Maron's podcast this week?
I didn't know. Did
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Was it good?
It was good. Yeah. Good listen. Good listen. Recommend it. Yeah.
Nice. I'll maybe check that one out. What about new releases? Actually, on new releases, have you heard the new Bleachers song?
No, I haven't. I know it came out today, didn't it? And I haven't got around to
It's
listen to.
absolutely brilliant. It's
Oh, is
such a good
it?
song. It's
Oh, amazing.
awesome.
I
Honestly,
will be getting on that as soon as we're done with this. Yeah.
I'll go out and say that it's the best song I've heard this year.
Okay. In the first 18 days. What a big claim.
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
really good, it's a really good song. It's kind of a bit, I would say, earlier Beacher style, really catchy.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it's really good. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure you'll like that.
cool. I look forward to that. I wasn't that keen on the one with Lana Del Rey that they
Yeah,
released a few months ago.
no, you'll like
Um,
this one. I'm pretty
amazing.
sure of that. Anything on your radar? You got your finger on the pulse of it more than me with newer stuff.
Not really. There hasn't been a whole lot that's come out in the first couple of weeks that's really got my attention. Actually, if I'm full disclosure, I did quite like No Offense had a new song, which I think if any listener likes what No Offense does, I think they'll like it. It's that's pretty catchy. It's the best thing I've heard by No Offense, called 3 Day Headache.
Okay.
So there's a band called 408 who John Feldman's doing loads of stuff with at the minute, and they had a new song. It was okay.
Yeah, I've heard
It
that.
feels a bit kind of like AI generated pop punk a little bit, but
Yeah, just nothing new, right? It doesn't like
no.
it sounds like a kind of already done before kind of song. You know, do you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, I mean it's fine, but I wasn't blown away by it.
Alkaline Trio brought a new song. You listen to that
I did listen
a
to
week
that,
or so
yeah.
ago? Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's
I forgot.
decent
Yeah.
enough. It's pretty classic. Like, yeah, that's another. You don't really feel like you're getting anything new from Alkaline Trio, do you, when they bring out new stuff? Like,
No. And the album is out at the end of the month, I think, around
is
then.
it right?
Yeah,
Okay, want to
yeah,
keep an eye on them.
yeah. Neck Deep have a new album tomorrow as well, which
Well, really
yeah, I'm not the biggest Neck Deep fan, but I'll give it a spin, see how it is.
cool.
But yeah, I think that's kind of it for the minute. Off my head. Should we get into the first interview of 2024, perhaps?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so we were joined this time by Anna Zanes, who's the chief editor for Alternative Press magazine, which was very cool booking for us. Really appreciated Anna joining us. Little disclaimer on this. She emailed us afterwards because we asked what her favorite record of all time is, and then she emailed afterwards saying, thinking about it, it would actually be Cheshire Cat, as in the Blink's first record, which was an interesting choice. When was the last time you listened to Cheshire Cat, Nick?
Jesus, couldn't tell you. What about you?
It's the same. Couldn't tell you. Yeah, I'd be interested to give it a spin and see how
Yeah,
it's held up.
yeah, never gone that far back. I think
Yeah,
Enemies as far back as I've gone. Maybe
really.
Dude Ranch. No,
Yeah,
I
I was
guess
gonna.
Dude Ranch, but more recently, yeah.
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 With that said, here it is. Whereabouts are you based, Anna?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Must be about 9 a.m. for you, is it?
Yeah, so forgive me.
No, appreciate you joining us so early in the day for you on a Saturday as well. That's
Yeah, of
yeah.
course.
Well, we're obviously in the UK. Chris is down in London, and I'm up in the northeast of England, which is extremely cold and miserable at the moment. Have you spent much time in the UK at all? Or?
Yeah, honestly, if I could, I would live in London. That's the place I've always
Really?
wanted to live. Yeah, I used to work in fashion before I was at AP. I've been working in fashion magazines for like a decade. And
Yeah.
so I would always come to London for Fashion Week, and I spent a bunch of time there. And
Any particular favorite areas?
I don't know. I just feel like every time I was there, I was working, but I would just like wander around a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just like it a lot. And it seems like the music scene is definitely more robust. At least like there's more of an underground still, but I don't think there is here.
I suppose London's quite concentrated, isn't it, with like smaller venues, smaller cap venues. Chris, I think I have to come your way a lot of the time down from the northeast to see a lot of
This is very true.
see a lot of bands.
Do you remember I like interviewed Pink Panthers and she said, yeah, we have more of an underground, but it's too gate kept that like nobody even gets to hear most of it.
Yeah, I can see that, to be fair. Yeah, there's a lot of people who don't come out of that underground, so yeah, that makes sense. So are you from LA originally, or
New York.
oh, you're from New York? Okay. Were you back in New York for the holidays?
I was. It was cold.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
I guess what we kind of usually do with these podcasts is kind of talk about early years, kind of where you grew up, just a bit about yourself, really, how you what kind of music you're into, what was your first exposure to music. So I don't know if you want to kind of do a bit of an intro in terms of growing up in New York, kind of the music and introduction to fashion and things like that to kick us off.
Totally. Yeah. So I was born and raised in Manhattan and Brooklyn in New York. My dad's a musician. There was like a recording studio in our house. So I was like from a very young age surrounded by that. My mom had worked at Rolling Stone and making music videos. And so I was just totally immersed in it. And so I was like, yeah, so I was all around it, but it was mostly my dad was making folk music. So it was not something that I didn't really have that much exposure. And like by being raised by a musician, he was kind of picky about what I listened to. So I wasn't really listening to Spice Girls and Britney Spears. I was listening to Tom Petty and, things like that. And getting like a pretty diverse musical education, which now I'm grateful for. At the time, I was super resentful of. The first album I ever got with my own money was Outkast, The Love Below, Speakerbox. And I was totally obsessed with Outkast. I started an Outkast cover band.
Really?
Yeah, it lasted one rehearsal.
Okay.
And yeah, the first concert I went to was I begged my dad to take me to see AC/DC at Madison Square Garden.
Okay,
and I remember that very vividly. But I think pretty soon after my Outkast phase, when I was in middle school, I don't even remember how it happened, but I became like I was in my punk phase and I became totally obsessed with punk, especially UK punk, 70s. And I wrote like my middle school thesis paper on that like era of punk in the UK. And then I wrote my next paper on like the skinhead punk movement. I don't know why I was interested in that in fourth grade, but I was. And I started shopping on St. Mark's Place at Trash and Vaudeville, and I was wearing jeans with the bondage straps and eyeliner and all of this. And so that was the next stage for me that I kind of never got out of. I stopped wearing those jeans, but
yeah,
I've never left that phase.
So that kind of early phase you talk about 70s punk, I'm assuming that's some of the Clash and all that kind of stuff. But what was like the first kind of current kind of band that really kind of got you at that time?
Yeah, it was Green Day. It was definitely Green Day. And so that was like a big moment for me. And then I went and saw them at the Bowery Ballroom. And I think I'd always had this, especially being raised by someone who was showing me all of this, folk music from the 30s and stuff. I didn't always connect music with people necessarily playing it now and being relevant. Like even when I saw AC/DC as a kid, they were not what they looked like on the album.
Yeah, sure.
So when I saw Green Day, that I think kind of like catapulted me into this new dimension of music, for sure.
Ducky was my kind of gateway album
Yeah.
when I was like 14. And yeah, kind of it opened up from there, I guess, really.
It's funny. I'm guessing like Blink was another big one for you because I did listen to your episode on the the one album Wonder thing you did because you did Boxcar Racer on that, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, which is my favorite band, which is so weird. It's not even a real band. But yeah, Blink was huge for me. I think all of those, Paramore, Blink, Green Day, that was also playing on the radio, which I think was really important for me too.
Yeah.
Because that's what I had in my bedroom. And I definitely felt very different from the people around me who were, listening to top 40, but I kind of liked that at that time, and I think that's why I was drawn to that music.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were all massive influences for me.
You mentioned obviously the Outcast, the short-lived Outcast cover band. Did you have much other experience like being in bands and stuff like growing up?
I always wanted to be, but at the same time, I was trying to be really punk and reject everything my parents did. So I was like,
Okay.
I'm not working at a magazine and I'm never going to do anything in a band like my dad. My mom was working in magazines and I ended up doing, kind of a combination of the two. But yeah, I was never in a band, but I was always hanging out around bands. I always wanted to be like backstage and hanging out and going to the shows and watching things from side stage. And I wanted to be
Yeah.
in the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You say your mum was working at Rolling Stone. What was her role there?
She had worked at Rolling Stone and then she'd worked at Condé Nast and she was an art director. And then she went on to make music videos. And that was a big part of her career.
Lots of exposure for the industry you ended up in then.
Yeah, definitely.
I was just going to say, is there any particular music videos that she worked on that we'd be aware of that stand
Oh
out?
yeah, she did an Iggy Pop video. She did a video for the Smiths. She did.
Oh, okay, quite big time.
She's done a lot. She did a lot of
Yeah.
them. She did the big Steve Winwood song. There's a lot of cool ones that she did. I don't even know most of them too. Like she's very private about all of it.
Okay.
She like lives in upstate New York and makes pottery now. So
Okay.
Talking about your career, I guess, and kind of where that kicked off. Tell us a little bit about that, how you started getting to the kind of fashion world, magazines, kind of early doors.
yeah, I thought I wanted to be a photographer. So I went to art school and then I dropped out almost immediately. And I just wanted to work. And so I started working in galleries and then I ended up interning at a magazine. I really wanted to work in a magazine, a fashion magazine, as like a
Yeah.
photo intern. And
Yeah.
so I literally went to this like magazine stand and I was just opening all the magazines to like the front cover and like cold emailing people.
Okay.
And this one magazine, Office magazine, they responded and they're like, yeah, we're looking for interns. So I showed up and I had the intention of being a photo intern. And I was doing that and I really loved working there. It was super avant-garde, it was kind of lawless, very indie magazine. So we there's a lot of creative freedom and a super small team. They're all Danish. And one day, at this time, they only had a print magazine. They didn't have online. One day they said, and then they had started the online, but it wasn't like no one was running it. And just kind of like in a general meeting, they were like, does anyone want to, be the online editor? And I just like raised my hand. And I didn't have experience doing that at all, but I just wanted to, again, I just like wanted to be in the mix.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll just figure it out.
But I mean, was it a time as well that not many people did have experience because it was such a new world for the industry?
Yeah, totally. it was still a time when people were, do we need to do this? Is this,
Yeah.
is this even gonna last? I mean, I guess that's still up for debate, but um yeah, so I started doing that and everything kind of clicked for me. I really loved doing that. I loved interviewing people. I loved writing articles. I loved being able to like curate the site and it was really good for the magazine. After I took
Yeah.
over there online, things really started growing and I had an incredible experience there doing that. I did that for a few years and then I went over and became like I was working on the print side, and then at the end of my time there, which was around 7 years, I was the managing editor of the print magazine and running the online. Yeah, and it was an incredible experience. I think I hit a wall with what I wanted to do there, and I was getting a little weary of fashion because that's never necessarily. I think it wasn't really what I cared about.
Yeah.
And I was starting to realize that. And I was doing a ton of musician interviews there. And that's what I had realized the only thing that was really exciting me anymore was.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The musician interviews you were doing over there was what kind of world were the musicians coming from? Was it similar to the kind of music that you're covering now, or and that was kind of how the transition happened, or was it a million miles away?
It was kind of both.
Okay.
So I did Pink Panthers. I mean, I did a lot of them, but we did Pink Panthers. I did Pharrell, which was incredible.
Wow.
And I did Paramore, which it was funny because my boss, I guess they didn't really know Paramore in Denmark. And I was like, we should do this. It was right around their new album. And he was like, I don't know them. They're not important. I was like, no, we really should do this cover. And it sold out within like 30 seconds.
Sorry, when you said the new album, was that do you mean the most recent one? Was it as recently as
yeah,
that?
This Is Why. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay.
And then I left the magazine and I went to a different magazine, Paper Magazine.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit more mix of culture and fashion. And then it folded.
Right.
And meanwhile, for a whole year before that, I'd been getting messages from the Maddens.
Oh, okay. So how did they become aware of you?
Josh Madden found me on Instagram.
Okay.
He saw what Office Magazine was doing, and he's like, "Who's responsible for this?"
Oh, okay. Okay.
So he tracked me down, and they were kind of courting me for a job for a while, and then I pulled the trigger and I went.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've really like my core goal, and at the end of sorry, the end of the day, my like goal in life, I want to write biographies about musicians and I want to write books about musicians and music in the alternative space.
Yeah.
And I just, all the other stuff was getting really tiring. And I felt like it was time to just like dive in.
Yeah. Yeah. And you sense that basically Josh was kind of giving you an opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, I love alt press. I've been reading alt press since I was younger. Felt really trippy to be offered that opportunity. I think I was nervous because it was different than what I'd been doing, but at the same time, I think I'm probably more proficient in talking about like alternative music than I am about fashion because it aligns more with what I care about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, so that's been super freeing and great.
So that journey started quite recently then, last year, was it? You
Yeah. I started almost a year ago. I started with in June, and then I put out the fall issue, and I just put out the winter issue, working on the spring issue. So this will be my third issue coming up with AP.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's funny. I think I was first personally aware of you because you did the Artist Friendly podcast as the sort of guest interviewer, I guess.
Yeah.
Which full disclosure, Chris is a huge Good Charlotte and Benji and Joel fan. By the way,
I mean, Nick's mate. I mean, we both are. In fairness,
we are.
and
You're just a bit next level than me, though.
I mean, like, so we've had Josh on the show before, so we've had various people, MDDN and stuff, but that was a good listen. Like, so I mean, how was that experience to you? And I assume you knew them relatively well by that point, because obviously with you
Yeah.
transitioning into alt press and everything.
I mean, I sort of knew them, but it was the first time I'd been in the room with both of them before.
Oh, really? Okay.
Um, and uh, I don't know. I mean, I'm also a really good Charlotte fan. I don't talk about it often because I don't want to seem crazy. But that was definitely one of the like the bands that was like playing on the radio that I was super into growing up.
Right,
I
right.
thought they were so cool. Yeah. I mean, also because they have this big Beastie Boys influence and,
Yeah.
being from New York, like I think there was something that drew me to that. But yeah, they're incredible. They're really, really smart and they're really kind and they run solid businesses and are like really approachable, which I didn't expect, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that, I mean, was that just because of their level of fame, or is it just kind of like what their stage personas like, or is it maybe a mixture of both?
I mean, I think that like I also was very much exposed via tabloids and stuff like that to them
Yeah.
growing
Yeah.
up. So, it was, they were dating all these celebrities and
Of course.
they lived this life that's like full of high profile people. So that was definitely intimidating for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess as well, being, you're probably more used to being the interviewer and to actually go into that scenario with those guys being the one interviewed.
No,
Like,
it's vice versa, Nick.
was it? I thought you were
Yeah, oh
saying,
yeah. So someone hasn't listened to that episode.
I haven't, no. But I guess the one question I did kind of have around that is kind of how do you generally kind of, speaking as a podcaster who does interviews, what's your kind of prep process like going into something like that? Or is it
so
pretty laid back, kind of just see how it goes?
most of the time I'm very laid back and I see how it goes. But that doesn't always work out for me. Most of the time it does, but sometimes it really like backfires. Um,
Yeah.
Oh right,
because
yeah,
people, they can tell. They're like, but I think and overall most people prefer it to be more conversational.
yeah,
But for that, I think it always comes to me at the last minute though. And I've always been like that. I do my homework at the last minute. I write my articles at the last minute. I'm like really up at the edge right by deadline. Um, and I don't know, I kind of like wanted to understand their whole lives, and how
yeah,
they got to where they are. And I read some interviews with them, and I always try not to ask questions in the way that they've been asked before. So that they like to talk, so it was easy. And they're super smart. So it was great. Yeah, I think that one I think I structured it as like different phases of their life being like be like exposure to music, similar to how you're doing now, kind of. And then it was
yeah,
like
yeah,
Yeah.
entrance into it and what are they doing looking forward. But yeah, I always have a different process for preparing.
I think we've been kind of, well, it's happened to us, hasn't it, Chris, where we've gone into something really prepared. We've interviewed someone who's been around a long time, been around the game a long time, and can almost lead an interview for you. And you just kind of, you're
Yeah.
just stepping in. But then we've been on the other side where we've interviewed like a new band who hasn't done, isn't well adverse to media and interviews. And we've struggled because we haven't prepped enough and we don't have enough to talk about, and it's just kind of stumbled along.
yeah,
I
Yeah.
guess it's just finding that balance, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I also think it's like the main thing that gets in my way is nerves, which I don't usually have. The one time I've been super nervous was actually fairly recently when I interviewed Green Day,
Yeah,
Oh,
just
okay,
because
yeah, yeah,
that's big for me.
yeah,
And I also, Billy Joe was like really smart and
hmm.
really kind of serious. And I was so nervous. I was so nervous
Did you interview them in the room, or was it over a Zoom
in
call like this
person.
in person? Okay,
no
okay. Did that?
hiding.
Yeah, yeah. Did that make you
Yeah,
more? Is that more nerve-wracking, do you think?
definitely. And I was wearing like a band t-shirt from the band X. And Billy Joe like called it out because X has gone. I haven't been like, I'm not on the like X Facebook now. they've gotten pretty old. I haven't like tapped in, but they've gone pretty like far right.
Oh, right.
And
Okay.
Yeah.
and I just felt like such an idiot. And it, like I was just like, oh, I'm done for.
But
Did
was
you
he was
manage? Oh,
go
yeah, I
on,
was
Nick,
getting
yeah.
probably the same question.
Yeah.
What was the interview like? Did you manage to kind of get through it?
Um, yeah, honestly, I mean, it was good. It was their first interview about the album, and yeah, it was pretty good. I think it became a really good article because I also I can flip things too if the interview is pretty like, like Q&A, which I
Yeah.
think it turned into. Then it can be more of like a cultural anthropology of the band and where they stand and where they've stood. And so I kind of turned it into that, which I think is interesting too, especially when there's anything is around a new album. There's ways to talk about it that's different than the ways other people are talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
What
yeah, I don't know. Interviewing it's crazy.
I know it's a wild ride sometimes. What do you think of Green Day's of that new material? You into it?
I think it's great. Yeah, I think it's really great. I think it kind of reminds me of all the things they've done put into one album. But yeah, I think it's awesome. And I've seen them live a couple times playing the new stuff, and they're incredible.
Yeah, legends of the game.
And speaking of legends of the game, Green Day and Good Charlotte, I guess I wanted to touch upon briefly. So were you at when we were young this year, or this
Yeah.
or last year even?
Yeah. I've been there the last 2 years.
Oh, you did both years. Okay. Okay. So I assume you were there like in a work capacity this year just gone.
This year is in a work capacity. The first year I was there, just like hanging out.
How was it this year just gone? Because to be honest, because I mean it looked great both years, but this lineup just gone is like almost like my perfect lineup. If I was picking the dream lineup, like I think
We tried to find excuses to go, didn't we, Chris? But we just couldn't pull it
We
out.
couldn't get it
You should have
together.
gone.
Yeah.
Do you guys have
Yeah.
anything like that? Oh, you have like Slam Dunk, right? Is
We
that
have
kind of similar?
yeah, Slam Dunk would be the closest thing. Which it varies in quality, depends on your taste. It varies each year, but you do get some pretty strong lineups with that, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
This year, I honestly didn't I was bummed I didn't get to see that much. I was like back in the artist camp the whole time, like interviewing artists. So I got to meet everyone on the lineup, but I didn't see.
So sorry to cut in. Was there anyone that you were excited to meet in like who was top of that list for you?
I was excited to meet a lot of people. Like you said, it was a great lineup.
Yeah.
I think the teenage girl in me was very excited to meet Tyson Ritter. Because that was my
very
crush
handsome man
in middle school. So that was fun. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it was great. I loved meeting the Veronicas. They were fun. I
Oh,
loved
yeah,
them.
yeah.
Yeah. Pierce the Veil. I love Vic. He's like the sweetest person in the industry, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a big Pierce the Veil fan. I love them.
Nice.
But yeah, it was great. I'm really excited for next year. That one's gonna be good.
Who would you be your kind of dream lineup or your dream headliner for next year?
Well, next year is My Chem, which kind of is my dream.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Next
That-
year's like the album kind of one, isn't it? Everyone's
which
kind of doing it based
I'm
on
curious
their
how
albums.
curious how that's gonna work.
Yeah.
It's kind of there's another festival called Riot Fest in Chicago that does a lot of that too.
Mhm.
And I went to that this year too. It was cool. It's definitely interesting. But yeah, I think it'll be cool.
Talking of dream lineups, you talked about kind of wanting to look at musician biography stuff in the future. What who would be on your the top of your list to go and do a biography for?
Okay, my dream biography is not, I feel like it's not super expected. Well, first, I would like to write a sequel to Travis Barker's biography,
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah.
which actually that was a fun read. But the real one that I would want to do is Anthony Green. I feel like he's been in so many sick bands. He's got such a crazy story. He's a nice guy. I think that would be a really like fun project to do.
So have you met both him and Travis then?
I actually haven't met Travis.
Okay.
But I've met Anthony Green a bunch of times.
Right. Got it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to meet Travis.
Yeah, another legend of the game. Just kind of talking a little bit more about alternative press then. Obviously been around for what, like 30 plus years must be, even more.
I think it'll be 40 years in 2025.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris and I kind of both had prints back in the day over here. We had Kerrang as well, which was we had stacks of Kerrang under our beds. Like I'm in my late 30s, Chris is early 40s. Kind of what does alternative press look like kind of behind the scenes a little bit now? I don't know if you can give us a little bit of insight in terms of what the setup is, what, the size of it in terms of employees, and kind of like a bit of a fly on the wall.
Yeah. It's definitely a super, super small team. And it's just like a couple of us, and we're in this kind of we're like sister magazines now with Revolver and Brooklyn Vegan.
Okay.
So we have this kind of cool editorial roundtable where I will bounce stuff off of the Revolver editor-in-chief or the Brooklyn Vegan editor-in-chief, and we all kind of follow different genres, and that's been really fun and supportive. But the internal team at AP is really small.
Okay.
So I'm used to working in indie magazines. But yeah, I mean, right now I'm putting together spring. We're trying to get all of our digital content ready for this month and next month, and it's pretty nonstop. We're trying to like activate at a ton of festivals this year, similarly to how I
Nice.
did it when we were young. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a really big year.
How long's like Josh and that like kind of run the scenes at AP? Because from my knowledge, it was always that Mike Shea guy, and then I don't know when he kind of stepped away. And do you know like when Josh and the Maddens kind of stepped in, and do you know when that transition happened?
I want to say 3 years.
Yeah, that sounds about
Like
right.
3 years. I mean, the legacy of AP is so impressive. I mean, I have all these like digitized copies of the early issues, and there's,
Yeah.
Before it was even leaning into pop punk, when it was Oasis and,
Yeah.
Bad Brains and all these wild Nirvana,
Yeah.
it's incredible.
Yeah, kind of like I feel like it started leaning into pop punk. It was really the early 2000s. It kind of made that sort of pivot.
Yeah, it's interesting because Revolver, which is a heavy metal magazine now, like also their first cover was The Doors, back in
Right.
I think the 80s. So I think towards the early 2000s, because of financial reasons and like the decline of print with the birth of the internet, like a lot of people were trying to lean into niches to have like a solid audience that could carry them through it.
I was just gonna kind of latching onto the whole kind of the print versus digital and what that looks like. And I guess fashion still very much exists in the print world, and you've come from that world. Kind of what's your view in terms of kind of how a magazine, I guess, balances that now, and how it kind of sees things in the future in terms of does print still have a place in the music magazine world? Like, what's your kind of view in terms of how AP, other magazines are kind of, what's their mindset in terms of the outlook of the industry now and what it might look like in another 10 years time, 20 years time?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to say that I think print will always have a place, especially because I do think that the music industry and music media is so carried by fandom. And I think that fans like to have tangible things they can collect, whether it's merch or posters or magazines. So I'm holding on to that hope. And I also think there's a place for digital magazines. And that's definitely something that like we're thinking about like as a company. But I think I think print will always have a place.
Yeah, real quick, just going back to the kind of content of alt press and what it covers, because I mentioned obviously early 2000s it kind of pivoted to like emo pop punk and stuff, and then I'm assuming this kind of came with the Josh and his brothers coming in. Like, I feel like obviously it still largely covers that kind of music, but at the same time, it's really broadened the genres that it covers. I think that's fair to say,
Yeah.
and like it's really leaning into everything that's falls under alternative is going to get a coverage. And like, do you feel that's really kind of benefited the kind of branding of alt press and like how it's seen by everyone? Like the reason I'm saying this is like there's that YouTuber Finn McKenty. I sort of like made a video on alt press probably around the time that the transition happened, and he was just talking about how it was dying a little bit, and it was just covering the same old emo pop punk.
Yeah.
And like, and almost exactly about the time that video was coming out, like I felt that video was dated very quickly, because I was like, oh, no, I think alt press is consciously changing again a little bit. Is that something that you're aware of you must be conscious of it at the magazine?
Yeah, I mean, that was also kind of what, like, I had to be allowed to do that even more than it was already happening. I think the Madness took like such great steps forward in that.
Yeah.
But that was something that was really important to me as well. I love pop punk music and I love emo music.
Yeah.
And I also think that in order to move forward, the look of that genre as it was is not representative of what people look like in the world. And like music media is like having this like reckoning right now where they have to like, there's a lot of other publications. We're all like kind of grappling with stuff. So I think it's important to represent other genres. It's important to represent women, people who look different, it's
absolutely
like have it be more diverse. And that's something that, while also like I did, the last issue was Green Day. So like I always represent like, the old AP. So there's Green Day, but there's also 070 Shake, who's in like more of a hip hop space, and Arlo Parks is more of an indie musician, but it all falls under alternative.
Yeah. No, I think it's come out really well the way you guys have done that. And I think that's a big reason of why the magazine is or the publication is so relevant still,
That's what we're aiming for.
So I guess maybe looking forward into 2024, and I appreciate you probably can't give away any exclusives or anything like that, but what does kind of your year look like so far? And, what does AP's year look like in terms of things coming our way? Or can you not say anything?
I don't know if I can say like any actual subjects, but we have some really big, exciting covers coming this year. I think continuing to lean in all of those different directions. We're going to be at more festivals with activations, and we're also going to start doing like collector's issues again. So it'll be like a special issue about one band.
Yep.
Nice.
So those are really like serving the fans, and there's a lot of stuff coming. It's going to be exciting.
Is there anything music-wise that's kind of on your watch list for 2024? Any new artists or records coming out from artists that we already know, perhaps? Like, is there anything that you would recommend?
The way I listen to music is kind of, I don't know, like insane. I feel like I find one song I like and I just listen to it on a loop till I can never listen to it again.
What's that song currently for you?
That song currently for me, it's like not even a new song, but it's a song off of Anthony Green's solo album.
Okay.
It's called Don't Dance. It's really good. And so I'm kind of like in a post-hardcore phase. But speaking of which, there is a band that I'm obsessed with, Folly Group from the UK, post-hardcore band. They're really, really good.
What'd you say they're called, sorry?
Folly Group.
Folly Group. I'm sure. Do you know them, Nick?
No.
Ring a bell to me.
No.
They're great.
Okay.
I also I listen to a lot of hardcore music. So, there's this band Buggin' that I really love, that I recommend. Spiritual Cramp, another band that
they had an album recently, didn't they? That's very
good. Yeah,
very good.
So good. This other like a kind of girl group that I also think is UK, Hot Wax.
Oh yeah, I know of them. Yeah, I haven't heard their
They're
stuff,
really
but I know the
cute.
name.
There's a lot. I think it's going to be a good year for music. I think more will be revealed, but those are kind of the things I'm listening to. I mean, I listen to a lot of new music, but I also just like my comfort zone is music that I have always loved.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah.
I suppose to some of that music as well kind of come to you via the magazine as well, right? So you kind of
Mhm.
almost kind of rather you don't have to go looking as much really because it kind of comes
Oh
to you.
yeah, it's all in my inbox. Yeah.
How does your inbox look, by the way, now that you've got this position at AP? Are people hassling you a lot, or is it
I have
manageable?
4,500 unread emails.
Oh, okay. Well, you've always been very quick about getting back to me organizing this, so that makes me appreciate that
I try.
even more.
I try. They're mostly press releases,
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but I really try and listen to as much as I can. And I have gotten so much new music that I would not have gotten otherwise.
Yeah.
Um, this way, and gone to shows of bands that I don't know, and like figured out about things that way. I went and saw Dora Jar last year, and there was her opener was this kid Sam Austin's, um,
Okay.
who's insane, so incredible. And
Sam
we put him
Austin's.
in the
Okay.
last issue. He's really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of like Blood Orange. But yeah, it's exciting. I mean, I'm doing exactly what my teenage self would have wanted me to be doing.
Have you
That's
got
awesome.
any shows lined up kind of immediate like in the more immediate future?
I was actually looking last night. I think I'm gonna see Alice Glass next week with The Help, who's
Okay.
that's a friend of mine's band.
Nice. What about last year? Kind of, you said we when we were young, you weren't able to actually see anyone. What kind of what stood out for you as a show last year, or like any bands you saw?
Yeah. Well, I did see the only thing I saw when we were young is I saw the last part of the sets every day. So I saw Offspring, Green Day, and Blink. Blink, I could see 1,000 times. I saw them on their tour, and then I saw them at When We Were Young twice. So I mean, that's like always a highlight for me.
I saw them on this most recent. So I went out to Denmark and I did one of the London shows. Yeah, it was great.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, and I think because I mean they're clearly like using backing tracks and stuff that they didn't really used to do, and it helps with the live show. And you know, yeah, I
it's
think
a good
why not?
show.
It is a good show.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's a great show. And then by the time I saw them at When We Were Young, and that was the night that they put out their new album,
Mm.
the show had gotten even better, even though it was a festival set, which is crazy. And yeah, I mean, I love Blink, so that is always fun for me. And I
That's
love Tom. I'm like
yeah.
a big Tom fan.
It's been a special year, hasn't it, for them all? Like come back together and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Tom would also be an interview. I would love to do, or a book I would love to write, but I think he's too smart for me. I would just all of that, the talk about science. I don't know if I could keep up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon you could do it. Yeah, it would be a good one. I reckon we probably wrap this up in a sec. But
Cool.
really appreciate you giving
Yeah,
us
of
this
course.
time
It's fun.
on the morning for you. I get we tend to finish with just like some sort of general sort of quick fire questions. So I guess we
Cool.
could fire some of them at you, and then yeah, we can wrap this up. I'll start us off. Favorite TV show.
Renos.
Favorite place to eat in LA?
This restaurant called Joy in Eagle Rock.
Kind of
What kind of restaurant's that?
Taiwanese.
Oh, Taiwanese. Nice, nice.
right.
What's the best live show you've ever seen?
Kiss.
Favorite record of all time? I appreciate that's probably a tough question.
Yeah.
That's so hard. And I think the answer changes all the time. But wow. Oh, I don't know. Honestly, if I had to answer that right now, it would be the Postal Service album, Give Up.
Oh, okay.
And final one, favorite Madden brother. No, I'm just kidding. That's not really one of our questions. I think
Josh.
Yeah, Josh.
No, I think we can leave it there. Anna, it's been really cool to talk to you. Like
Yeah, you too.
Obviously we know you have a very busy job, so it's hugely appreciated.
Yeah, appreciate your time.